Okay. So can everybody still see my screen? The guide here?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so excited to have you all on the call today. What we are kicking off for this round of UAT is more of our end-to-end testing, right? So in previous sessions of user acceptance testing that we've been doing up until this point, we've really chunked the system out, right, and gotten your feedback on very siloed portions. But because of that, it was very broken up in process, right? So at the beginning, we were just adding a customer, but not going any further than that to get that piece going. So what we'll focus on this round is really that full workflow or cycle for sending a referral and or responding to a referral. So what I'm going to do today is walk you through that in the system. So really excited for you guys to see the updates that we've made throughout this process too, because I know we've peppered you with questions and gotten a lot of your feedback. There's been a lot of work that's went into it on your all's end. So I'm excited to see what we've been working on the back end for you guys based on that information. So excited for you to walk through that with these updates. For those of you that are new to the user acceptance testing, I know we've got a couple newer individuals on the call, but really what we are doing is going in and testing the system. And there's a lot of benefits to that to make sure in this testing environment that we are thinking of real world examples. It helps us flesh out any like process flow issues, usability type items that make things, easier or made things difficult. It allows us to make those improvements before we just plop a system in your hands and say, here you go. So you all have been huge helps in making sure that the system works for you and works for your processes. Um, so what we're doing now, based on that feedback we got in those more siloed testing sessions, is looking at the whole piece, the whole picture. So thinking of your like bumper to bumper tests on a car, right? So we're going to walk through that today, but I do want to lay out the expectations again, especially for some of those that are newer. Um, this guide will be distributed most likely tomorrow once I get everything together for everybody, so that you have all the right resources and everything. But this guide is going to be kind of your step to step or step by step guide of testing the system. It's going to walk you through, what you need to do. It'll also call out different enhancements that we've made along the way based on that feedback, and then give you kind of like a guidebook. But also we're going to walk through like what the expectations are for testing, because if you're not coming at user acceptance testing with the mind of the end user and testing thoroughly and just clicking around on buttons, it's less effective as if you're kind of thinking real world scenario. So we're going to walk through those expectations real quick. So this guide here gives you an overview and kind of a general list of what you're going to be testing. So in general, we are going to be going through and adding or updating a referral or partner site in the service finder. And this connects into the referral system to have the right contacts, the right services, the right programs that those partners and organizations offer. So that when you're going in and doing a referral, that the appropriate organizations and contacts show up. So we'll walk through that today. After that, you're really going into sending referrals to locations based on the personas we have provided, giving you kind of a guidebook of how to test, but you can absolutely test more than the personas provided. So I'm going to go through those here in a bit. Um, and for those that aren't familiar with personas, they are essentially kind of a real world scenario, like testing customer that gives you, okay, here is Kelly. She needs help with XYZ. Here's a little bit about her. Here's her, fake email. That way you're not having to create everything yourself, but kind of gives you a guide to follow along with. So some people very much appreciate that. Some are really great at making up their own information, but it gives you a kind of a way to go, a way to navigate through and also testing different workflows, different types of referrals. And those are encompassing different titles, things like that. So we'll go through that here in a moment. Next, we're going to be making sure we respond to incoming referrals and being able to easily review the status of outgoing referrals and update referrals accordingly. So we'll walk through those steps. And then last piece, I know we had a lot of discussion around reporting. We've made some updates to reports based on some of that feedback, and then we want you all to, use the system to pull a report. Maybe if you're like, I need to provide a report to, this organization or based on your own local stakeholders that you currently provide reports to. That way we know, if you go to pull something that you always pull and it's not in here, that we can get that information and start working through it to get it in the system. As we scroll down, you have your expectations and homework. So you will be expected to complete the user acceptance testing I want to make sure we can get all of the feedback in before like Christmas holidays come up. So the due date on this is going to be 12/19. So that way you have about a week and a half here to get everything tested and provide us some feedback. That way we can focus in on any critical developments that we need ahead of the pilot. Those of you that already have a login, those were distributed September 4th. So the individuals that I let you know, we're probably gonna have to create you some logins. Those will come here shortly, but the rest of you will be using those same logins as before, like the test Kelly T and then those test passwords of test 2025. So you will utilize those still. As we scroll down, you've got your access to the UAT environments. So this one is your test URL for the service finder, and this is your test URL for the referral system. So both of your test links. I do my best to make sure those are throughout the system as well. So when you're in the service finder, section of this guide, that you don't have to scroll all the way back at the top. So you will use those accordingly. Reporting issues. So how we track reporting of, enhancements, bugs that you run into, things to that effect is in this referral UAT notebook that is linked here. So if I click on that link and pull that up, it's going to take us to this referral UAT one notebook. One thing to be aware of here, we've got kind of our past closed releases down here. Release 1, 2, 3, 4, all those say closed. You have an example issue report here. So someone coming in saying, I was using a Chrome browser on this page. When I filtered, it didn't come up with this or that, provides a screenshot. And then that is where our team here looks at that feedback and addresses it accordingly. So in this case of like, oh, this is an issue, we actually have this being addressed with story number at 9543. So that helps us keep track of, what was provided, our plan to fix it. But sometimes too, we may need a little bit more context on something. So if we read this and we're like, I wasn't able to reproduce that, I need to connect with Tasha to see, what additional info she might have if I can reproduce it. So gives us an idea of who is testing it, how were they testing it, and we can kind of take those steps to reproduce and get those things righted or new functionality into our enhancement backlog. Okay, so release 5 is going to be the notebook that you're working in. When you go into test, if you can just write your name here of, who tested, the date you tested, that is super helpful for me to gauge participation. Otherwise, I'm going to be thinking nobody's testing, right? So bothering you and sending out lots of information on that. So please set aside the time to test this in the next week or so. It'll be due on the 19th, so next Friday. Right? Yeah, next Friday. Yes. Okay. So it gives you a little less than 2 weeks to get that tested. So set the time aside, make sure you're, intentional on walking through it and providing the feedback. One other thing with testing, it's best to, as you're walking through, have your guide up in maybe one screen so that you can walk through the different steps here. Show you. So it kind of walks through, gives you screenshots, steps to take. So having that up in one screen, having your notebook up in one screen to be able to provide that information as you move through testing. Because if you are kind of, at the adding the new customer and sending a referral section, you pass through that and then you're towards the end in the dashboards and you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, when I add a customer, it's kind of in the wrong place. Like we can definitely navigate through that if we find it and it's on the wrong area. But also for you as the tester, it keeps it fresh as you move through testing. So if you're updating your service finder site or if you're adding a new customer and you come across like a button that you didn't expect to work a specific way, that keeps the feedback siloed to that specific part. So do your best to keep those all up at the same time and add the feedback as you move through. Okay, let me go back here. Okay. A couple other things to go with expectations for UAT. So make sure that you're testing thoroughly. If you have any issues accessing like anything or just need a quick walkthrough, I know it's been about a month since we've like pretty thoroughly tested pieces of the system. Please reach out to myself or Natasha here listed because we want to ensure that you are able to go through and test the system. One of the hardest things for us to hear is that, you got stuck somewhere, and when we get to be going over feedback, we're like, oh, they got stuck at the beginning and didn't test. Um, do not feel like you're bothering us or anything if you need a little bit of help to like get things going or like, hey, I got stuck here. Absolutely let us know. That's what we're here for. And we know that you participating in testing is going to help us create a better system to put into your hands when this goes live. So, um, be detail oriented. So when you're reporting those different things in the notebook, giving us steps of reproducing it, screenshots are really helpful. Sometimes too, people will like record it real quick on Zoom or record it in Teams and like, give us a recording that way to provide to developers. That can be helpful. And then also it lets you know, like, let us know the browser that you're using because maybe something's happening in Chrome, but not Edge, right? So we're able to reproduce those things and make updates. But then also expected versus actual outcomes are helpful. So if it was like, I was expecting it to do this, but what actually happened was this. So that way we can take the appropriate steps to fix those things. And then with your feedback, we break those down into different categories. So we have bugs, issues, enhancements. So bugs being things that need fixed. Issues are, the system is performing according to the requirements we were given, but it feels disjointed or maybe a workflow seems off. That way we can track those things and prioritize them for change. And then lastly, enhancements a lot of times are things that we add to our backlog to, maybe they're not like a need to have right now, but a nice to have that we get into the system shortly, as we focus in on different things that need added in. So just to have you have an idea of how we break your feedback down. And again, think like the end user. You want to come from that perspective, especially even if you're unfamiliar with the system, try to think like the end user. Be specific and then provide context too. So especially if, you're giving some feedback that's specific to your role and how you would use the system, that's very helpful to know. Okay, any questions there so far on UAT? I know a lot of you have been participating in various aspects. Some of you are involved in both like the IWDS 2.0 testing, and some of you have been doing this for a while. So just let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, this is Joel. I have a question. So
Okay.
for the people that we sort of recruit from the partners that we're gonna be at the other end of this, do we need to get them username and password?
So
Uh, oh,
Joel,
thank you,
we'll do
Lily.
that as part of the pilot. We are going to start working with you guys closely from now until we're doing it in January is when the pilot will kick off, mid to early January. Um, we will work with you guys outside of that. We're going to have you guys create a guide where you're going to identify the partners that you're going to work with, and we will work with you and them to get them accounts and provide them like training webinars and tutorial videos and resources for how to participate in the pilot. This end-to-end training will just be for this group as a final test of the entire system from beginning to end to make sure everything is working and ready to go for when we kick off that live pilot in early January.
So say for instance, for this particular exercise, since we have two people in my area that are doing this, I could put say Carrie in as the contact to go that direction, then she could try going the other direction with me.
Yeah.
Well, is that your partner provider? Is that more the pilot, Kelly, or is that?
No, that would be
Or
that's Carrie who's on this call right now.
Oh, yes,
Um,
yeah, okay.
so
Yes.
yes,
yes,
so
you
then
could.
I wouldn't be actually having to worry about getting any sort of someone who's not familiar with any of this at all up to
Mhm,
speed, but at least we would be able to do the process where I would
Yes.
make her the referral at
mhm,
how does it make up a partner just to go
mhm.
through the process, and then she could do the same using me as the contact for someone that she's referring to.
Correct. And then
Yeah.
Kelly has also set up test providers that she's going to be running that you can refer to her and she's going to show you those and she's going to be re-referring like accepting referrals and sending referrals as well.
Okay,
So you can do it amongst yourself and then the SIU WorkNet team will also have a handful of them set up to be accepting and sending to give that real life feel to it.
okay,
Yes.
yeah. I just wanted to
Great
make sure that I didn't
question.
have to try to get anybody else who's just completely new to this up to speed in 2 weeks,
Right.
Totally understand.
who may or may not actually be there in the
Right.
in December.
Yes. Great point. So yeah, that does lead into what I was going to go over next too, Joel. We've added a few different partners in here that our team at WorkNet is also going to be like responding to. So if you were, there'll be some specifics in the guide telling you to like, and the personas. Let me go back to the personas here in a few minutes, but like the personas are going to break down of, let's see. In this case, like I've got Nicole Jensen here. Here's some of her information. She came in, she actually needs a Title I referral for career planning education. So you're going to be referring her in this case to like either this AJC North or South. So we're going to have some specific instructions in there because our team at WorkNet is tied to these specific ones. Um, that way we can, properly test. But then also at our team here, we're going to be sending things in on the background to you too. So we're like, oh, hey, I'm going to send this over to Joel's Workforce Center, send him a referral so that you'll also kind of be receiving some from
Okay,
us.
so we could see what it's like
Mhm.
get on the receiving end rather than just the referral end.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So we've kind of tried to think through that too, in terms of like us being able to send some to you all as well. So one thing I'll go over here, any of them that you guys have set up, it's hard for me to fully see them. So if you could let me know, like, hey, I set up in the service finder Kelly's Workforce Center, like just let me know. That way we can go in and make sure we have it and we can make sure we're referring to those ones specifically. So, doing our best to kind of correlate with like real world scenario here. So I will have all these in there for you guys to be able to send to, and they're going to be listed in the personas where it makes sense. So you'll see those. Okay, so the first part of your guide is going to walk you through how to like update and make sure that you're listed as a primary contact on your sites. So let me pull that up real quick. Here we go. So it's going to have you log into the service finder, and then you're going to, use the test passwords that we sent you. It's kind of listed there. If you have not set up a site before, so Tasha and Dave, that would be example for you guys. You're going to have to go through kind of like this first piece of like verifying your account information. You'll go ahead and use like your real email. That way in this testing site, you can practice like receiving an email, things like that. Um, there is a full guide that I'll make sure to give you too of like step by step how to do that. Um, Majority of you on the call have already set up your site. So you're really going to come in and look at your site, make sure you have the appropriate contacts on there. So that would be a good instance that Joel mentioned where you could have if you went in here to edit your site, so the site that you're tied to is going to show up. But if you needed to come in and add another person on here, if you hit edit in the service finder, it does break it out into quite a few tabs here, but having that primary contact in here listed as service finder primary, referral primary are going to be important to make sure that you receive like that email for a referral in the test system. And you can add additional contacts here as well. So if you hit add contact, it pops up an email where you could search for that and it would pull that up. So in this case, from our previous testing, we had a test contact in here. If you search them, then this person, since that email came up, a test contact, I could select that and add that person as a referral and service finder and then save. And that adds that person to my site. There we go. So that piece will be important. One other thing to know, if you have, if you make any edits here on the preview tab, if you need to submit it to us, that'll be important. And if you do create a site, make sure to send that over to me. That way I can get it approved. Because whenever you create one, it does go to our workNet team to approve it. And that's the same thing with current day. Our team takes a look at it, gets it approved, make sure it has the right information to approve that site in here. And then it lets us know, is that site active? Maybe we have sites that aren't active anymore, and everything like that. So this piece should be kind of just an overview to make sure you have the right contact information in there. So from there, after you complete that step, this does kind of walk you through how to double check that information and to update those contacts. And then next, you're going to move into testing it in the referral system environment. So we will go into there in a moment. First step after adding your site is going to be doing adding a new customer and sending a referral. So our testing system right now doesn't like block duplicate customers so that we can continue to use these personas. So what I did, I think before everybody had it was like customer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I moved them a little bit to start with like 4, 5, 6, 7, so that you can have a different persona at this point. So you'll see in here who you're assigned. So Sarah, you have persona 4. You would be able to click into this referral system personas document right here to go get that information. And that is going to pull up your referral system document. So you'd be able to go through and use this information to add your customer. So from there, I've got my customer's information. I'm going to go and log into the referral system now and start adding a customer. So let me get that moving here. Okay, so once you get logged in, you're going to be dropped into this main page here, which lands on our customers. So a big update we've made since the first testing, you guys will notice, is we got the feedback that, it's hard to see like my incoming referrals versus my outgoing referrals. How do I differentiate between what I'm getting at my organization and what I've sent? So from that feedback, we were able to come up with some tabs here. So you have like an incoming one versus outgoing one. So in this case, my login doesn't have any incoming ones, but they would be listed here if I had any I needed to respond to. But then I'll see my outgoing ones here as well. So to show you a couple things here real quick from an outgoing or adding a referral perspective, I'm going to be under this login real quick to show you those different sites that I created. But in this case, I have that customer I need to add. Um, I don't know if I've added myself in here before, but so then I'll be able to add in that information and use that information from your persona to get that going. You can use fake, anything is like at fakemail.com. So if you do like Kelly at fake mail, that way it doesn't actually produce anything. But you'll need to do, veteran status, zip code, and the zip code's required because it's used to ensure that we're matching up their services with ones that are close to them, right? So geolocation. Let's see here. We'll use this one. Whoa. You can add things in like their address if you would like, but it's not required. And then at the bottom, it was also something big that we went through during feedback of, who is referring them and making sure it was more obvious of like, okay, the referring organization is sending this to, or like who's adding this customer into the referral system, right? So that piece has been updated to kind of clarify that a bit. And there's also an option to choose the appropriate program if needed, but it's not required. So once you have that information there, you'll hit add customer. You'll get a little customer added toast message that pops up. And then if an employee, or sorry, if a customer is already in the system, it will show you, or it will tell you that it is a new account created in this case. So my person has a new account. You can reset their password, but it creates a record for them. And then you can then add a referral directly from there. So before it was a little bit, that's also feedback we got from you all that it was you had to add the customer and then it kind of closed out and then you had to go add the referral. So now when you add the customer, it pops you directly into that add referral section. So we just added Kelly and now I can go in and start selecting the different things I would like to refer her for. So let's say I need career counseling, maybe I need a job fair, those type of things. I can click those different ones. And then from here, a few things that we've added. So say you're like, oh, you know what? I didn't mean to choose career counseling. You can remove that with this little remove button versus before you had to come back in here and unclick it in this. So a little bit of usability upgrade based on your feedback. And then from here as well, based on feedback, we got breaking this down, what's closer, what's further away, breaking those things down. So it's showing you all of the people that provide that career counseling and breaking it down based on my location. So in this case, we're going to be giving you guys specifics on, in this case, like, hey, you have Nicole, we want you to refer her to UAT AJC North. So it may not exactly like line up with the breakdown here. As you can see, it breaks it down into like within 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and then more than 15, which more than 15 could be 18. It could be 118, right? So you'll just be able to see those differences, but we may give you specifics here to refer someone to AJC North in this case. And then in this case, maybe we're referring them to this community college for a job fair. And then you would hit save. If it is a multiple organization referral, what it next does is pops you into like a referral overview here. So in this case, we were referring them to 2 different organizations for 2 different services. That breaks it down into these 2 tabs here. So we have your referral 1 and referral to. So in this case, we have also added a progress bar here at the top. So before a referral can effectively be sent, remember you have to have a consent status here. So consent from the customer to send that. We did add here a little bit of, better labeling. In this case, this person, we do not have consent yet. When we click on that add or update consent, you can then say, yes, the customer provided verbal consent for me to send this. And then it turns into a more of a obvious, like active consent check. You can also update from here too. So maybe the customer changed their mind, or maybe it's been a long time and we need to renew that consent. You can do that as well. And then at the bottom here, you see this. We can't quite send this yet, right? That is because we need to pick a primary contact from that organization that we're going to send this referral to. So in this case, you'll see me listed. Go ahead and send it there. Once you have the consent and the primary contact, you're then able to save and send. So if you remember right as well, before we had kind of like a separate save button and then the submit button was up here. Based on your feedback, we simplified that into that one click of save and send. And then another note here, you can also say you're going to cancel the referral. You're like, I need to cancel this process. There is a cancel button. So once we hit save and send, that's going to update up here to that sent functionality. There's also little info bubbles to let you know where things are at, or, kind of a little bit more context around, what does sent mean? What does received mean?
Kelly,
Yes.
I just noticed that you had save and send, and there was a save button as well next to cancel. So if I didn't want to send, I could have just saved it because I want to, let's say, walk away and I got to do something and I don't have time to finish. I could just hit save.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That would leave it in like this draft
Okay.
mode
Okay.
or the not sent mode. But yes, absolutely.
I think it would also be good if maybe if the person wasn't sitting in front of you, but you knew you had all this and you put it in and you were waiting to get their consent, you could just save it. And then once you get their consent, that would probably be the time that you, at least I'm thinking that might use it the most, is where you put it in and then you get their consent.
Yes, absolutely. So kind of gives you those different options. Okay. Um, as you can see up here as well, once you've sent that, at the bottom you have like a consent history and then a referral history too. So this was created by so and so on what date as it moved through those statuses. Um, I know one thing provided by the feedback sessions we had was, there may be some instances where like the provider, I might have to do this for them. We did add a respond for provider up here. So ultimately, you're going to want your providers to be utilizing this from the email they receive. So let me pull that email up real quick. Let's see.
Quick question while you're doing that is
Yeah.
for that on the say, let's say if you save somebody and where would you see those listed? Maybe if you were going to come back to it, would there be a screen that you would see the ones that were saved but haven't been sent?
Yes, that is a great question. Let me show you here in a second. Um, so when you send the email, this is what you're going to receive. So if I were to be referring one to you, or if you were to be referring one to me, I would receive this, hello, Kelly Trimble. Community college has referred this person to your organization for career counseling. So, you can use this as an FYI. A lot of you are going to be in the referral system a lot, so maybe these are more of an FYI to you, but maybe you're on vacation and your emails are forwarding to someone else, right? Someone's watching your emails. So they could come in here while you're on vacation and they can use this link, even though maybe they don't log into the referral system. This is a live link for 7 days. So if they receive that, it's kind of more public versus being logged in. So if someone's watching for you, or if you're like, hey, like I've got a bunch on my plate today, can you take this referral and run with it? They're able to come in here, get that customer's information, and say, oh, okay, you know what, I am attempting contact, or you know what, I connected with this person and gave them what they needed, and they've got what they need to get. They're enrolled in orientation, they received services, they're coming to orientation, those type of things. So if you're marking it complete, it pops up here with a reason it's being completed. Maybe when they contact the customer, they're like, oh wait, you know, I actually didn't need that. Or in that case, you know, oh, they didn't show up for orientation. I believe too, there is also an option here. Oh yeah, receiving provider forwarded to another provider. So you could even do that and be like, oh, you know what, this would be better suited at this provider and start that referral process. But in this case, if I update this one to like in progress and hit submit, that will update this person's referral. So now, since we added Kelly in here, I can go back to my profile. And then just to follow up on what you had asked, Joel, it breaks down into, you know, okay, so this one is in progress, but this is the one I saved for later, and it would be in red. So you
Okay.
can click back into that and update what you need. So to follow Patty's question too, that's where maybe I'm not ready to send it, but I hit save, it updates it, and I can come back later and get that sent when I'm ready. One thing you'll notice up here, you can't respond to the provider until it's in a sent status. So the provider has to receive it in some shape or form for you to go in and say like, oh, okay, they closed it. Okay, let me pull up. All right, so just as a reminder, you'll use these personas. These are a way to guide you to hit different tracks, right? So we're like, okay, have this person who needs these type of things. Maybe it's a mix of Title One and Title Four. Another person's a mix of Title One and Title Two. So you're having that co-enrollment piece. So use these as a guide. Absolutely, though, add more customers. The more you test, the better. So, but these are really for you to kind of have a starting point. And then this guide's going to walk you through everything that you need to do. So it'll kind of give you those different pieces. Um, the next piece really to go over is responding to those referrals. So I'm going to log in to my other one real quick so I can show you guys kind of a better view of that. Hold on. This one has a better example of incoming referrals. Okay, so in this case, my last one didn't have any incoming referrals, but this one shows a little bit better of I do have some I need to respond to versus my outgoing tab. And then you also have your all referrals tab and then a notifications tab. So these are some of my newer people. But in this case, if I want to look at Denise here at the top, when I click into her, it's going to show me all of my referrals for this customer, but then it's going to break it down for you into incoming versus outgoing. So in this case, I'm attempting to contact on this incoming one, which I can click into again. Let's say, you know, earlier today I was attempting contact with her. Now I've heard back from her and, you know, we're completed. She's enrolled or she's attended an orientation this morning, and you can update that. Also, some functionality at the top. There is ability to print. So if you're wanting to print specific things, you can for records, but they'll be in here as well. Or if you're wanting to provide it for a customer or something like that. But now you can see before it was in yellow at attempting to contact, now it's in green as completed. Which will be important to mark these as completed for some of your reporting. It sounds like from our feedback sessions of the past that being able to report on, days from, received to completed or sent to completed is going to be important. So that piece there of making sure our partners know the importance of that, which will probably be a big piece of future, outreach, making sure that they're using it. Okay. The next, I guess first, any questions I can answer at the moment? Okay. If not, what we'll go through next, and the next part of what the guide brings up is around reporting. So under your reports tab, we have your dashboard, which is going to give you some information here. So in this example, I've got my, total referrals, my average time to process. So this starts breaking down what we talked about of, my average sent to received is 16 days, sent to progress 11, sent to complete 22 days, sent to closed. But then it also is starting to break down, okay, here I have 2 referrals received that are past 10 days. Who are those people? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's
then
these
just so
ones.
you know, Kelly,
Yeah.
that's one of the things Eric is working on to
Oh, is this
correct.
like test data at the moment?
It's all, yeah, it's test, but
Ah,
he's no,
okay.
well, it's he's working on correcting that so that the links to two only show two, the link to one only shows one.
Perfect. Okay,
He's
cool.
mhm.
Okay. So that piece is still kind of being on the back end, but it's going to pull up just to give you an idea of those 2 that
Right.
need
And then real quick,
responses.
if you open one of those again, sorry, if you open
Okay.
that like you did it two, ideally you'd have your only the two there, and then your referral ID would take you directly to your referral, just so you can easily access them.
Perfect. Thank you, Natasha.
Mhm.
Okay, so this gives you an idea of how that dashboard is going to look. And then it also is going to break down for you into a couple other reports. So one of them being the referral status report. You're going to see that this has been broken down to incoming versus outgoing when it comes to the graphs, and then also when it comes to the list. So the list, you're able to see, okay, we've got, 66 referrals not opened. We have 2, as we saw earlier, that are in that past 10 days. We've got 3 in attempting contact. Um, referral status without change for 30 days. And this has an info bubble that it doesn't count like those that have been completed or closed, so it's more of those pending ones. And then from a completed, right, it's breaking down like, okay, from the completed ones, we have 1 that was completed, they attended orientation, etc. 2 that were closed. So it looks like he's still kind of hooking up some of those descriptions there.
Yes.
Perfect. But yeah, same thing. If you are pulling up, like, who are these 2 people? It's going to take you to that list. Looks like he's still in process of getting that piece going, but you guys can see the idea there that it's going to pull up those individuals that are in that list. From there, we also have referral services report. So this breaks it down into, where are your most populous referrals going to, right? So you're able to see how many customers, how many referrals you're doing. In this case, we're saying majority of them are basic needs and childcare and family services. It'll also break it down here in the list view as well. And then we also have a newer report. I don't think anyone's seen this one yet. This is the service status report. So this one is breaking down for you, the service type, the specific service, and like where everything is flowing within there, right? So maybe, we're seeing that we have partners at specific places that are getting like a bottleneck somewhere. This would be a great report for you to kind of identify, who might be struggling, who are the specific services and things like that. So if we're like, oh, okay, we're referring a lot of people to Lynette's site that are getting bottlenecked. What's happening there? Do we need to like work with them? How does that look? So you'll be able to pull up that information and get some of that, those specifics. and then ability to export this too. You'll see at the top here. And then as a reminder, across these pages, you saw there's lots of filters here. So if you're trying to break down specifically, like, okay, I only want to see people referred from Title 1B adult and break those down. You'll be able to do some additional breakdowns of those. Due date ranges, specific services. There we go. Okay, well, that is really the end of the demo of what you're going to be testing. Like I said, we're going to get all of these resources out between probably tomorrow, midday, tomorrow afternoon. I want to make sure I have everything in one spot for you, easy to find, to make it as easy as possible on you to test. But like I said too, do not feel like that you're bothering me or anything if you need any help getting started. We don't want you to get stuck somewhere because like we said, that's the worst news for us to hear that you weren't able to test because you got stuck because we want to be able to help you get over that hump if need be and get us the feedback that's going to help make this the best system for you and your partners. So what questions can I answer? What, from us at the WorkNet team here, what can we help with?
Kelly, it's Patty again. Sorry.
Yes.
I failed to, I mean, I have partners that I verbally got a verbal, yeah, I'll do it, but I never got back with them and they're gonna need access. So how do I do that with you now?
Oh yeah, that won't be until we get started on the pilot in
Yeah.
like early to mid-January. So
Oh,
right now, kind of get them lined up and just let them know like we're gonna have more instructions
okay.
coming for
Sounds
you. So just kind of let them know that it's testing. That's the big thing that we're working on the back. Um,
I don't know if I'm going out or you're going out, but I didn't hear anything.
I
and then
think
obviously
it
we'll be there as that pilot kicks off.
I think it might be Kelly because I'm running into the same thing. Patty, can you hear
Okay.
me okay?
I hear you just fine.
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna put together a guide you guys will complete prior to the pilot. And as
Yeah.
part of that, you will identify the staff that will participate and we will work with you and them to get that access and get them
Oh,
training. So that's going to be coming quickly after we get you guys into this UAT testing.
sounds good. Thank you.
Um,
Patty?
Kelly, your audio was cutting out. I'm not sure if you heard us say that or not. We might have lost her completely.
Is
So,
unstable. So
gotcha. We'll open things up now to any questions you guys have. I think Kelly has covered everything. And then I put in the chat to echo what Kelly said. We are here to support you. Contact us if you run into anything at all as you're doing this from now until the 19th is the due date. And now we'll open things up to any questions you guys have before we close out.
Olivia, I just wanted to flag real quick, Patty, National Able, and then also LWF 14 will also be part of the pilot and the testing. And the reason for ABLE just flagging for you is part of the SNAP initiative for the work requirements. Both ABLE and 14 are SNAP ENT providers. So we want to make sure that they're included in this as we roll out some of the supports for the work requirements.
Great.
Thanks, Kelly. Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, we'll give you guys back a couple minutes of your afternoon, and Kelly will be getting an email sent out tomorrow afternoon with all of the resources you need to get started on the end-to-end UAT for the referral system. Thank you all very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.